Hi, this is Todd Doyle, and today I want to answer the question, who is John Graham? Well, he was born in Mississippi, Gulfport in 1953, and in 1970 he enlisted in the Marine Corps. In 1971, he was a Marine stationed in Rota, Spain, and it was there while he was on base that he came across a martial arts class and fell in love with the discipline. He began studying Shotokan Karate at the USO. His training was interrupted when he had to transfer on a ship to Charleston, South Carolina. There he continued his training in various martial arts on base. Having the opportunity to re-enlist in the Marine Corps, he put in for the job of personal security for the commanding officer of Naval Forces of Europe, stationed in London, England. He knew that the chief instructors of Europe would be located in London and Paris, which were the main strongholds of martial arts back in the late 60s, early 70s. Upon arriving in London, Graham sought out some of the best, Iron Man of Karate Steve Morse at the famous Earlham Street Gym, private lessons with Tatsu Suzuki, chief European instructor of Wado-ryu, and K.S. Han, chief instructor of Wushu Chen. Graham would laughingly say to me that he trained 8 days a week. He continued to train with them until his transfer to Okinawa. While he was in Okinawa, he found Masanobu Shinjo of Goju-ryu, who is considered a national treasure in the Okinawan arts. Graham trained in different realms of the same art. Wushu Chen is the grandfather of Okinawan Goju, which is the grandfather of Japanese Goju. He knew that once he saw Wushu Chen, that the unlocking of the art of Goju was embedded in the catchings and set sparrings and methodology of Wushu Chen. This is proven years later by researcher George Alexander and others. So, Grandmaster Chi Kim Thong, who was currently teaching in Malaysia, but also he come to Europe and teach with Grandmaster Han. He saw Graham's enthusiasm and zeal and commitment to Wushu Chen and saw his skill in interpretation and his dedication to the art, and eventually he accepted him as a disciple, and in 1990 he promoted him to chief instructor of the U.S. From 1973 up until his death in 2001, Master Graham maintained a very strong relationship with Grandmaster Chi. They traveled across the world to see each other several times and performed in demos and TV interviews and public events. Now in 1989, Master Graham began training under Grandmaster Bill Superfoot Wallace. And an interesting side note, in 1974, while Graham was stationed in England, Wallace was representing the U.S. and fighting in the World Kickboxing Championships in Europe. While Graham and his fellow Marines watched him, Graham said, "I'm going to be a student of his." All the Marines laughed and said, "You're from Mobile, he's from California, you guys will never meet." Not true. Graham ensured that they met in 1989, and the relationship has been going on since. Through Bill Wallace, Graham met Joe Louis, the father of kickboxing and a fellow Marine. Because of the Marine Corps and his love of martial arts, Graham and Louis shared an instant connection. Graham's school in Mobile, Alabama was the first Superfoot school and the first to have Superfoot instructor trainings. Graham is on the board of directors of both the Superfoot system and the Joe Louis fighting system. He's received an 8th Dan from the Joe Louis organization and an 8th Dan from the Superfoot. He also has an 8th Dan from the Chi Kim Thong organization. He has close ties to Grandmaster Chi Chin Wei, the headmaster of the Nine Dragon Shaolin Temple in Qinzhou, China. Master Zhao Feng, the Inspector General of the Qinzhou Wushu Chen Association, has trained with Graham, has been to his school in America and trained with his students. Graham has also had his students train with Zhao Feng in his own school in China. He shares a very close relationship with Master Graham. Master Graham is trained privately with Grandmaster Alexander Ko of the Ben Kim Wushu Chen in the Philippines and also with Grandmaster Bonifacio Lim. He has a 9th Dan in Kong Han from Grandmaster Henry Lowe of the Kong Han Wushu Chen Association in the Philippines. He's regularly trained with him on an annual basis for the past 20 years in the Philippines and has brought students to train with Grandmaster Lowe. He has served as the 11th president of the Nan Shaolin Wushu Chen Association and also awarded a 10th Dan by them. He is a delegate of the International Wushu Chin Association. He's a noted grandmaster in 2 martial art history books written by the Chinese government. His fascination of the discipline has caused him to go to countries like Malaysia, Philippines, and Thailand so he can study and learn more about Wushu Chin. He's taught in his police career over 2,000 police officers while being an officer, and he was instrumental in developing the minimum standards for corrections officers in the state of Alabama. He taught at every level of state law enforcement, from city police to sheriff's department to state troopers. He's received letters of bravery from the Mobile Police Department, and his medal has been tested as a Marine and as a law enforcement officer on the streets. John Graham's trained in 4 different methods of Wushu Chin: Kong Han, Bing Kim, Chin Zo, and Chi Kim Thong. He presents a unique perspective on Wushu Chin that nobody else can offer after being in the martial arts for over 50 years. From a personal perspective, I've seen the scars in his hands and his arms from fighting with a man with a broken bottle, so I know that his techniques work, otherwise he wouldn't have survived. Master Graham knows what works in a fight and what doesn't. This is Todd Doyle, and I'm a friend and student of Master Graham's, and I hope that you have enjoyed this history lesson. Thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you soon.